Well, tonight, a Mississippi judge declares a mistrial in the case of a man charged with killing former Ole Miss student Jimmy J. Lee. This afternoon, jurors deliberated for 3.5 hours before sending a note to the court asking what would happen if they could not reach a verdict. Well, just before 5 o'clock, they came back with an 11-1 vote. They didn't clarify which way the votes favored, but the judge ordered them to go back to the deliberation room to take more time to decide. ABC 24's Scott Mattis has been following the case since the beginning. He joins us live from Oxford tonight. Scott, a long night for you. What was it like for people waiting all this time for a verdict, then hearing the news it was a mistrial?
Well, good evening, Pepper. I can only imagine it was frustrating, those folks in the galley, if you will, and also the lawyer representatives not wanting to talk after this mistrial was declared. But you could see the looks on their faces of pure frustration, quite literally sitting in the courtroom for over 12 hours waiting for a verdict. And like you said, there were 3 different points where the jury came back to the judge saying, listen, we don't think we're going to be able to do this, come to a verdict. And then they ultimately said, we cannot come to a verdict. Also, as we have been talking about, the vote essentially was 11-1, but we're not exactly sure if that was 11 for guilty, 1 for not guilty, or vice versa. But nonetheless, the morning started with opening statements, this to the jury from both the prosecution and the defense. And around 11:30, that jury went into deliberation, like we talked about, coming back 3 separate times saying, listen, we just can't get this done. So ultimately, right around 8:30 this evening, the judge saying, listen, we're going to have to call this a mistrial. And Pepper, I also have to note that this jury came from Hattiesburg. One of the points of contention for both the prosecution and more likely the defense is that Harrington was not going to get a fair trial if there was a jury pool from right here in Lafayette County. So they went 250 miles away to get that jury. And so when things finally concluded this evening, the judge, after the jury was excused, looked at both the prosecution and defense saying, listen, this is likely, obviously, if you want to be retried, and if there is paperwork that you need to file, get it in now if you would like a jury pool from somewhere else. But the bottom line to this big story, aside from the mistrial, Timothy Harrington is still out on bond, though the judge said that bond hearing, it needs to be reset because likely the bond that was set nearly 3 years ago is about to expire. Of course, we will stay on top of this story for you, so please stay with us. Live in Oxford, Mississippi, Scott Mattis.
Certainly a complex case, Scott. Good job tonight. Thank you.